It's kind of shocking that Disney even let Lilo and Stitch happen. This was in 2002, and Lilo and Stitch is a movie that stars in part two Native Hawaiian women. This is statistically an absolute anomaly, and in a lot of ways it's very wonderful, but frankly, I think the whole thing was completely an accident. If you haven't seen either movie, here's all you need to know about the plot. Stitch is an alien. He accidentally lands on the Hawaiian Islands. Stitch was designed for destruction, so basically, he's a little rascal. He's such a scallywag. That's Stitch. So Lilo ends up adopting Stitch. Lilo's 6 years old, she lives on Kauai, and her older sister, who's like 19, is Nani. Lilo and Nani were recently orphaned, so Nani is raising Lilo. A social worker threatens to take Lilo away. Also, some aliens who are Russian are trying to capture Stitch. Ultimately, both Lilo and Nani bond with Stitch and turn him into less of an a-hole. Also, Pleakley is a non-binary icon. They all build a house together. That's the summary that you need. No more questions, thank you. Like I said, statistically, it's truly amazing that this movie was made in the very early 2000s. People of marginalized identities, like women of color, are less likely to be leads in popular movies, and that likelihood increases exponentially when they're at intersections of identities. Out of the top 100 films of 2017, there were only 33 female characters that were leads or co-leads, and out of those 33, only 4 of them were women of color. And obviously things weren't any better in 2002. So how did this movie get to be a huge Disney hit? Well, it was done with a bunch of care and consideration and intentionality. Just kidding, gotcha! Lilo and Stitch was 20 years before Moana, so like baby, that movie representation in Lilo and Stitch came just from luck and ignorance. That's truly the story of Lilo and Stitch. It's a wild story. So at the time, Disney was trying to do this renaissance, oh, we're not your parents, Disney, which is, I think, why they chose Lilo and Stitch, probably for, like, the weird alien element, and also, perhaps because of the amount of on-screen saliva. That's a little bit edgy, I'll say it, that's a little risky. I think it was also approved because the writer and director, Chris Sanders, his original idea was pretty different and notably more mainstream than what the movie became. In his original idea, the movie took place in Kansas, and Lilo was actually a boy. The character of Lilo was not Hawaiian in Sanders' original story. Sanders ended up switching the movie's location because he was told that Kansas was too desolate and it was really serving Wizard of Oz. That's a direct quote from the execs. He ended up choosing Hawaii because he was sitting in his office, he looked up, and there was a map of Hawaii. That's how he made this huge decision, which is a very funny way to make life choices.
Rue, what's that you're saying? Oh no, AJ, you need to make a life-altering decision and move to a new place. Oh my gosh, Rue, that's a great point, but where am I gonna move to? I'll move to Orange County. One time, I only ate cake for a month, and it gave me a nutrient deficiency.
So next, Sanders randomly put his finger on 2 streets on his map, and it was Lilo and Nani Avenue. That's how he made the decision. Like, he could have talked to anyone Hawaiian during this process, but he was like, nah, I'll just wing it. I'm spontaneous. That's Chris Sanders. He was like, I'm so impulsive. I also will say, I might sound like jovial and jokey, and like, I don't think that a lack of representation is funny at all. I'm just trying to kind of highlight that this story is really interesting and hopefully open up conversations about like historic instances of representation and how we can improve upon them. Lilo and Stitch was made on a really low budget, and it was made at Disney's brand new studio in Florida, mostly because no one expected it to be a hit. That gave the creators an unusual amount of freedom. There were no studio execs hovering, just them and maybe Flo Rida. I like to think that Flo Rida is kind of a deity for the state, like that's how he got his name. The original Lilo and Stitch has 2 female casting directors, and they are the reason that there's any Hawaiian representation in the cast. The actors who played Nani and David, who are Tia Carrera and Jason Scott Lee, both grew up in Hawaii and are of Native Hawaiian ancestry. And they're also in the new movie as well, which I think is really sweet. They helped out a lot with the film. They helped out with vocabulary and other culturally relevant things. And maybe those 2 should have gotten to be writers. Just saying. That's the history and summary of the old Lilo and Stitch. It's just kind of an anomaly that it happened in the first place, and it really shocked Disney how big of a hit the movie was, which I think shows that people want to see more different faces on screen. And there's a variety of statistics that indicate the vast majority of the public wants diverse representation. They want accurate representation of all sorts of groups, including women, including Indigenous people. For a local Hawaiian perspective on Lilo and Stitch, feel free to check out Kenny Kusaka's videos. He grew up on island, and we collaborated on these videos. For more Native Hawaiian voices, feel free to check out my bio. I linked a lot of people who I learned from for this video essay. Thank you guys so